Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian, the Three Topics Gamer here to bring you another episode of the People's Questions, where I answer a number of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. For this particular episode, I only have about 4 questions that I thought were, video quality. I did get a number of other questions, but I decided to answer those questions in the comment section. So I hope you guys had your notifications bell rung so that you know whether or not you got your comments, your questions answered in the comment section for the last video. So with that out of the way, let's start off with the first question. And surprisingly, out of these 4 questions, 2 of them are a little bit similar. So there's that. But the first question comes from the Batman of Neo Gotham, and you want to know, outside of Resident Evil, what other video game antagonist do I think would be a good opponent for Wesker? I don't know about antagonist, because the problem with Wesker is, in order to beat him, you kind of have to beat him on a genetic level. So you have characters that either can't, like, when you think about what it takes to actually beat Wesker, unless you know to inject him with his serum in order to weaken his body, there's not really much you can do. And so when it comes to antagonists, you either are in the category of, well, they don't know that weakness, so they can't cause enough damage, and then Wesker will just make a counterattack and beat them, or you'll have antagonists that are just way too overpowered and can just simply overwhelm Wesker without even needing to use the sims. So if you take someone like, I'm trying to think, what's an example? Okay, like someone like Kessler from Infamous. He, with all of his abilities and power, he technically doesn't even need to weaken Wesker in terms of a serum, like setting. He can just keep blasting Wesker and over again and eventually kill him. But if you have someone like, say, a Shang Tsung, even with all of his abilities of shape-shifting, I just don't, like, his punches really wouldn't do all that much. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's super strong. But with the type of combatant that Albert Wesker is, I think he'd be able to adapt to something like that. So finding a proper opponent that's on an equal level is very, very difficult outside of Resident Evil. In fact, that's hard to find even within Resident Evil. So I'm not sure there really is an antagonist that would be a good equal matchup for Wesker outside of Resident Evil. I'm just not sure if you would find that type of character. Next question comes from Rain932, and you want to know, with all of the recent advancements in gaming technology, like good motion controls and VR, what do I think the next big advancement will be? Let's see. Well, okay, this might be, like 20 or 30, years away, but the next big advancement that I could see is something like total VR, or like something that there are two examples that I think gaming could eventually get into. One example, for those of you who, I'm not sure if a lot of you guys saw this movie, but in the movie Gamer with Gerard Butler, when you look at those type of that type of gaming, the entire setup pretty much took up an entire room. So there's that possibility, but that's like maybe 20, 30 years from now, and that looks extremely expensive. Or if you have something like, Ready Player One, where you have you have your VR set and you have a whole bodysuit and you can kind of interact with people. So I think in the next 20, 30 years, we could see something like that. That's probably the next big thing, but that seems just really, really expensive. But that's just the best I could see. I can't really say how much farther gaming needs to go, because, I mean, you have graphics that are just so impressive that you could almost mistake them as almost being photorealistic, and I think we're almost at that point. So that's just the best, mixed major advancement that I could see gaming going. Next question comes from Will Williams, and you want to know, which technically this is another Wesker question, if Jake Miller and Jack Krauser teamed up to take down, do I think that if Jake Miller and Jack Krauser teamed up, could they take down Wesker? Do I think that they take him down, or is Wesker really unstoppable? Again, Wesker is not unstoppable. He can be beaten. He's been beaten. He was killed by 2 normal humans, one of which had never met Wesker up until, maybe an hour or 2 ago. Wesker is not unbeatable. You just have to know how to beat him. Now, if Krauser and Jake teamed up, could I see them potentially doing it? Probably. Yeah, I mean, I could see them doing it. It's possible. I mean, you have two combatants that could go toe-to-toe with Wesker, and if they keep the offense up, they could eventually maybe wear Wesker down. I mean, his superhuman feats aren't, they're not infinite. He can eventually tire out, but yeah, I do think if they teamed up, they probably could take him down. I could certainly see that happening. And the last question of the episode comes from Phantom Sidious. You want to know, what are my favorite moments from the Clone Wars? Favorite moment from the Clone Wars. Well, I certainly like any episode that involves Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin working together. I really liked the episodes involving with Obi-Wan Kenobi being on Mandalore and kind of seeing, his love interest Satine. So you kind of get to see what Obi-Wan Kenobi was like, before, Qui-Gon was killed in Phantom Menace. But personally, I think my favorite episodes was probably with the General Krell arc. For just a quick summary, the clones were trying to take over a certain planet, and they were put under the command of General Krell, who really hated clones. He had like the highest casualty numbers of any clones, and they pretty much put him in control of the 501st unit. And at some point, the clones realized that General Krell wanted to be a Sith, so he basically was ordering different clone units to attack each other and kill each other because he just hated clones. And eventually, the clones realized what they were doing. They rose up and basically arrested him. They managed to take him down. And at the end, Krell ended up getting killed by one clone trooper. Just anything that just focuses on the clones and getting to see them as actual characters instead of just, mindless soldiers. I mean, that's the reason why I like the clones probably more than any other military faction. Because when it comes to stormtroopers, you don't really get to know the stormtroopers. And I think that's the same thing with the First Order. I mean, you get to know one character, but with the Clone Wars, you actually got to know a number of individual clones. And before Order 66 happened, you kind of got to see their perspective of the war. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect of the Clone Wars storytelling. So basically anything that focuses on the clones as individuals are definitely by far my favorite episodes in the entire series. But that's just to name a few. And for that, those are all the questions that were sent to me that I thought were video worthy that I answered in this particular video. So I'd like to thank everyone that sent you your questions, whether I answered in the video or in the comment section of the last video. And guys, if any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. We'll make sure you get them into me roughly on Wednesday before noon Pacific Standard Time, because that's usually when I will start filming the next episode. And if you want to increase your odds of having them added to the video, just have them be either interesting or have them stand apart. And if they aren't, then I'll be sure to answer them in the comments probably a day or two after you post the comments, so make sure you have your notification buttons ready. And also don't forget to give this video a like, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to help grow the channel. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.